have you experienced, in your opinion, quite strict and hard coaches yourself? Alright, guys, this is the 9th episode of the JMTS podcast. Today, we're going to talk about gymnastics, the training, and going to slightly reference Athlete A. So, I'm Milo.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Tom.
And you're watching JMTS.
So, not really recently, I don't know, a while ago, a documentary on Netflix came out called Athlete A. And for many people, that has inspired them to talk about their own personal experiences. Now, because of YouTube guidelines and stuff, we can't really go into so much detail about it. It's meant for like a mature audience,
and it covers a lot of personal subjects as well that other people might be affected by.
So
we have to be aware of that.
We're going to talk about certain parts of the documentary, and also we're going to talk about our own experiences doing gymnastics. Tom coaching, me being a gymnast for years, and kind of
let's say this. Yeah, I've been through the whole gymnastics thing, and I'm a coach now, and Josh is still a gymnast competing, and I've stopped competing.
So going straight into Athlete A, the film is all about assault, abuse of a type that makes certain individuals uncomfortable. It's about, I don't know how to word it without saying it, but it's basically about someone doing something to somebody else that the other person doesn't like.
Bodily abuse.
Yeah. We can't go into it on this podcast, of course, because YouTube guidelines itself, and in itself it is a very big subject that we can't completely talk about on this podcast. So we're just going to focus more on the gymnastic aspect and not about the assault itself. So of course,
And I also want to talk about kind of like how bad USA Gymnastics was run back then.
Yeah, let me know.
And I think I'm just gonna kick it off by saying this one thing: sports and sports companies should not be run by a businessman, because that was the downfall of USA Gymnastics.
They have to have a background. They have to have a background in the sport, or they have to have a deeper understanding, or they would have studied or had some family members or someone that's been in it,
because
so they can properly understand when you go into a gym, it's their safe space or it's where to escape. Now, mind you, when we go into this, I get kids when I coach that really want to be there, they're really enthusiastic, and then you get the kids that get dumped there because the family don't want them in the house for a certain amount of time, or they want them like babysitting.
Yeah, and obviously they don't have as much commitment to it, but you still gotta respect them. So what happened in Athlete A was, and by the way, if you're watching this is going to be full of spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it and then re-watch this and see what we.
Please do if you're allowed.
It's spoilers.
Spread the awareness.
So
15 plus.
You have to be like it's a 15, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you basically just need to be mature.
I don't say like that. That sounds
The main problem. The main problem was the president of USA Gymnastics was a businessman, and I've seen several films that have a businessman take over, and it just doesn't work. You need to have a passion for the sport and an understanding for it to all work. And this is why when these harassment claims and allegations came in to the businessman who ran it all,
Penny was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah, Penny. He dismissed them because of the fact that it wasn't signed by the victim or the victim's parents, and also because he didn't want his big company that was getting him lots of money, about £60 million a year, and this was back in the 90s, a lot of money then. He didn't want his business to be affected, and that is not how a sports industry should be run.
Of course not. No, of course not.
Yeah. And so what kind of like scared me in a way is that you go to these places to kind of feel comfortable. It's somewhere where you should feel safe. And the fact that there were, I think it was 54 accused coaches in 10 years, and that weren't looked into and were allowed to continue with these gymnasts, I just think is absolutely awful, you know. And the way some gyms are run are just sickening. I'm not going to say who this person is, but I know the person. Oh, sorry, Tom, you go first, and I'll continue what I was.
I was just going to say there was an underlying problem as well that when it started, what the businessman basically did. So Penny, who basically, you know, owned it, he just bought or paid the best people he could, like a certain doctor.
Yeah.
That was the underlying cause of the problem.
Oh, yeah.
That was the big one. Where what was when they were going into detail and looking up, like, you know, who's obviously been in the uncomfortable situations, there were gymnasts that didn't know each other at all. So it wasn't just USA Gymnastics gymnasts that were getting affected by it.
Yeah.
So not saying it's not just USA Gymnastics. This is the one we're covering today, but it happens everywhere. And that's uncomfortable to think about.
It really is, yeah.
And to say a point here, it still does happen. And it really should not happen. At the gym that I coach at, because I'm more of a senior coach, there's younger coaches, I have to look after them and also coach the gymnasts I'm coaching. Now, with our gym especially, when a gymnast walks in, we welcome them, they're part of the community, and everyone's an equal. Gymnast and coach, equal. That's it. That's how we see it. Right? And when they come in, we support them because some of them haven't necessarily got the best backgrounds, or they're struggling with something mental, or, you know, they've got a disability. We come in and we treat them like everyone else.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the important thing.
That's the important thing. And it's not just physical abuse, it's also mental abuse.
Definitely.
There's a big one as well. I mean, you'll get coach. I've seen this in my old gym. We'll not mention it, but I've seen coaches just have an app. This kid will just hand wrong, doing a trick. Hand was like this, supposed to be like this. Just had a massive go. Kid broke down. You know, it's and these kids, some of them aren't even. Some of them are national level. Do you know what I mean? Some of them are like 16. Some of them like, and to see a 16-year-old break down.
Yeah. There's a very fine line between being strict and trying to help someone improve, and then being abusive. And that's something that in the film was very blurred because of the Olympic level that those gymnasts were competing at. They were very strict, and this is not just seen in America. I know a gymnast who went to my club. Their old club weighed them before they went in to make sure the tops were actually light enough. And so, well, the gymnastics I'm talking about now is acrobatic. It's slightly different. It's partner work. It's a lot to do with lifting, and they weighed the tops who were being lifted to make sure they were light enough. And if they weren't, then they weren't allowed in. And there were no windows, so parents couldn't see what was going on inside. And that type of treatment, that type of way of gymnastics is wrong. I do not think that is something that should be allowed.
It's just completely toxic, and it's no wonder that underlying issues like these, like mental issues that these gymnasts have to deal with, like, can't say of course and stuff, but it's just sickening, really.
Yeah.
It's horrible. And we're just here to just sort of talk about it a little bit and shed some more light. I know there's been a lot of light shed on it, but just to see how we all feel and show you guys what we feel about it. Because obviously we are the younger generation. Me and Milo, we are the generation between. Like in between, like we're a weird one.
We are in a very weird place.
And I remember doing gymnastics with a certain club, my old club, and I would walk in, everything. I'd absolutely love the coaches, but the minute they saw potential, that's when things went a bit funny. Like, I still enjoyed gymnastics, but it got to a point where they were trying to stretch me out, because I was born premature and I was born quite tight, so my muscles have always been quite tight. So I've been stretching, and that's why I do a lot of physio as well, just to make sure, I'm more flexible. I have to push myself. But when you have someone, you're stretching, and when you have someone pushing your whole back, putting their whole weight on you to push you down into a stretch, it's not nice, it's scary. So you immediately engage. They tell you to relax, but you immediately engage your back muscles. And I remember I'd have to have one coach literally sat on my shoulders and another one pushing my lower back down, because my back was that strong. I was just trying to push them back. I did not want to go stretch. That's changed. You're not allowed to do that when you're going through. Sorry, Josh, for cutting you off. But from coach training now, you're not allowed to do anything like that. You are not allowed to give them punishment exercises. With my gymnasts, I don't give them punishment exercises. Like, example for today is you have a laugh with them, you let them enjoy themselves, and then I let them rate them. I let them go, how was this session for you? At the end of the session, I talk about it. I go, how was this session for you? Rate it out of 10. Tell me what you liked me doing. Tell me what you didn't like me doing. I need that. You need that feedback as a coach, because you physically can't teach a gymnast the right things or what they want to learn. You want them to walk in and walk out happy. But, like, for example, go on, Josh.
So I was just going to say that I've never actually really thought about how it's actually changed, but you saying that you're not allowed to do these things anymore, I've suddenly realized that actually in the last 2 years in my gym, I haven't seen any punishment exercises. But when I first joined my gym, it's weird how I haven't actually clicked that that's happened, but they have stopped, because I remember if you didn't do
2 years ago
something right, it was 50 press-ups, 50 V-sits, 50 burpees. And I remember, and it's just weird how, like, that hasn't clicked, but they don't do that anymore. That's good,
I've seen the change, because I'm 18. I've been coaching since I was 14. I was a youth coach, also training, and then I progressed, and then now I have my own sessions. I run my own sessions. I help run, like, club activities. Like, I'm more at the forefront now, and from being a younger coach, an assistant coach, to being a lead coach, I know it seems a little, but it is a big step. From helping a lead coach, it's stressful, okay, and not a lot of gymnasts sort of understand that it is really stressful to be a coach. But you can't show that.
Yeah, exactly.
You always, and if you enjoy yourself, if you enjoy teaching kids, and you show that you're enjoying yourself, they will enjoy it as well. But like I was saying, like, when I don't give punishment exercises, the way it was quite funny. So the ones that I do is, if they get their foot right, because they want to do it right, I go, oh, it's quite funny because you do it in a funny way. Oh, I'll give you one press up if, like, you put your feet funny. And I only do that if they carry on doing the same mistake, and I'll show them, I'll take them back, we'll go through all the basics. So but the thing is, they'll be doing the press up laughing, going, "Oh, why did I not get that right?"
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah, there's a fine line. You want them to focus on what they're doing, so the press up engages them to go, "Okay, I'm going to get this right." They don't mind doing one press up. It's the difference between doing one press up or 25. If someone does something wrong, you go, "Right, do 25 press ups right now." Right, the majority of the time they will get it wrong because they're tired because you just made them do 25 press ups.
Yeah. And also the thing that I think with that old system is people who were put in the spotlight made to do loads of press ups. They got like a little bit of mocking from the other gymnasts. I think other gymnasts found it quite funny. And that relates to athlete A in the way of if you get abused in that way, they don't come forwards for several years. And these kids were 15 and stuff. They didn't come forwards until they were a lot older because they were scared of being mocked, being shamed, being questioned.
Yeah, it's that shame culture.
And
it happens dance.
Yeah. And that's something that we as fellow gymnasts, we as people who are witnessing this, but as in like the other dancers, the other gymnasts in that room, we shouldn't mock, we shouldn't like.
We should always help.
Different. We should try and make them feel involved. Help them. Try not to put them in the spotlight.
What really shocked me was this is one of the moments. One of the gymnasts went to the doctor. Something happened. She felt uncomfortable. She came out and asked another gymnast, "Does this happen to you?" The other gymnast went, "Yeah, it's normal. It happens."
Yeah, I remember that.
This is from athlete A.
Because they're at that age where they don't know if it's all right or they don't know if it's not.
They don't have that knowledge of is this right, is this wrong, and they just go with the crowd. If it's normal for other people, then they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine."
It's that manipulation.
And that's why in athlete A, and that's why in athlete A they didn't come forward until later, because it was later they realised that this was wrong, and that's why I'm not going to waffle. Because I know that's what I was probably about to do.
It's
okay.
Disturbing. It's hella disturbing.
It is sickening, simply. And to jump on that point of like how they came out later, but there was one woman who a few years later came out and said, "Okay, this is wrong." And of course, at the time, I might be a bit wrong here, but the gymnast company, whatever it was, tried to say, "Okay, are you sure about this? Because you won't really win this." And it was a bit like, oh wow, it's just amazing how people just disregard humanity, for such financial gain and whatever. It's just a bit, it's jarring.
It doesn't just upset me. It makes me really, really bunch of words I can't say.
Yeah, exactly.
It's as well, like being a gymnast, that you're disgusted. You feel disgusted as a gymnast, but as a coach, it affects you because you're teaching the kids, and you want the parents to think. A lot of the thing in the coaches would say to the parents, "Oh yeah, we'll look after the gymnast. We'll be there for your gymnast." But you can't trust a coach if
things like that are out on the internet, and if things like that have happened, it's going to make it harder for other coaches, because they're going to be like, "Well, I saw this documentary. Is my child safe?" And
that's why
that's what should be happening. Yeah.
Because our gym's in a warehouse, right? There's no windows, no nothing.
Yeah, same with my gym, to be fair.
But there's cameras, and then there's a parent room with a TV with live feed from the cameras.
Yeah.
And then we have the shutters open. We have the shutters open sometimes.
Yeah. So at my gym, we've got this, like, because it used to have lorries inside it. There's this big shutter thing at the back which is open, let air in. But at the very front of the gym, there's like just it's all open. The parents can see straight into the gym, see exactly what's happening. And which I think that is important, because in some gyms they've blocked it off. There's a wall. Parents can't see what goes in. They've told the gymnast you're not allowed to talk to your parents. And I feel like those are starting to die away. But it was only 3 years ago that I met a girl who used to be in one of those gyms and who suffered from it. And I just feel like it's just ridiculous. Why was that ever a thing? Why has it taken up until 2017 for that to be changed?
It's heart-wrenching.
It completely is.
And like gymnastics as a sport, it is hard, and you don't need these extra things added on to make it even harder for you.
You do need to practice outside the gym. If you want to be one of the best, you have to practice. But what from athlete A and all that, it's there. You should be able with your friends. If you go out with your friends, right, and you're doing parkour or you're doing gymnastics or you're doing something like that, you have a group of friends. You'll always motivate each other like that. Right, but having bullying, you should be meant. If you go into gymnastics and you're a high level or you just want to get better, you have to go in with, I'm going to do this today. That's what I'm going to nail, and I'm going to stay focused during the session. But I want them. But I want to have fun at the same time. As a coach, you want them to go. I want them to be focused. I want them to be really invested. But I also want them to have social time, because sometimes they don't get out to see their friends, and this is the only time they see their friends in gymnastics. And this is their free time. And I know it's a bit different. Yes, I teach trampolining gymnastics, but I'm mainly a parkour freestyle gymnastics coach. But I help out with tumbling. I do teach trampoline, DMT, double mini trampolining. That's DMT. If you don't know what that is, and vault, and I do all of it. But there is a line with gymnastics. A lot of the gymnasts that come to our gym, because it's a national gym, it's quite high level, but we also teach very low level. It's just sometimes you do feel like the parents are looking at you in a funny way, and it's hard because all the coaches there are female, apart from me and Kieran, right? So everyone's female. And then Kieran's fine because everyone knows Kieran because he's been around really long. I've only been there 2 years, and I know that sounds a long time, but
in terms
not
of things,
really.
It's not that long.
Yeah, exactly.
Compared to some
exactly. And Kieran is a gymnast there. He trains there, and he's only assistant coach. But being a male, being a male, and being a coach is hard.
Especially when you're surrounded by loads of female coaches, my gym has a lot of variety in the coaches, but you talk about your gym, it does sound quite different. Experience different things.
And that, like we're telling you, we're not telling you gymnastics isn't safe. It's just maybe research into the clubs, ring up the club owner, actually have a conversation with them.
Yeah, try it out a little bit, see if you like
exactly.
it and stuff.
Like, it's hard. Like with the freestyle lot I coach, they come in and a lot of them aren't motivated, or they just want to mess around. And so you have to install in them motivation. But that doesn't mean going, do this, do that. If you don't do that, you're going to get 50 press-ups on the spot. I do not care what you say, this is how it's going to be done. You do not, if you do that to anybody, to a dancer, they are going to feel degraded. They're going to feel down. They are not going to feel motivated at all. You've done the opposite. You make that makes them want to run out the door or go to their parents. You want them it wants them to be their safe space. And sorry everybody, I'm having a rant, but this is what gets me going. It really
of course.
You're right.
Yeah.
And like you were saying a second ago, making sure you've got the right gym is very important. With me, I originally went to, and that was not the right gym personally for me. I could not cope with their methods of training. I was 9, and before my session, I would just be in the car crying, not wanting to go in, refusing, hating it so much because I had this coach. She was so strict. She was like, I just hated it. I couldn't cope with how they did the gymnastics. And I was there for about a year and a half. I can't remember how long, maybe 2 years, and that was so much, like mentally, it was so hard for me, and I was only little, you know, I was what, like 9, 10 years old, and so that's why I moved gyms, and that kind of comes to a point of gymnastics physically and mentally, just with the training aspect on its own, is such a hard sport. Yeah, it's so demanding, and if you have a bad coach, that can become too much, you know. And like sorry, Tom.
A lot in gymnastics comes too much. You will always, no matter what level you are, you will find a point where it all feels too much, all feels overwhelming. You're getting anxious about it. But when you go into gymnastics, you want to feel relaxed. Yes, the coaches, right? Not all coaches, but the majority, like 99%, would have been through the same as you. No matter what level they were trained at, right? They would have felt the same at some point. They will have an understanding of what you're feeling, right? So, we understand what you're going through, and we want you to talk to us.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah, with the whole training and all gymnastics, yeah, of course.
And personally as well, again, for these last 4 years, I've felt so blessed with my new club, because they are, put aside the fact they'd make us do press-ups, which wasn't that bad. They didn't do it in a way that was too bad. But they've been such a great club. But recently, my partners have dropped out before massive competitions, which has really affected me, with my kind of motivation. And that was enough to nearly make me quit. And I was thinking, if I was still at my old club with the same type of coaching, I would have not have continued. I would have dropped out a while ago. And even now, I'm finding it quite hard physically. It's quite draining, and I'm only going down to 2 sessions a week. But I used to be doing 3.5 hour sessions, and that was a lot. And if having an abusive coach on top of that, like an athlete A, that would just become way too much for me to handle. I would have lost my motivation years ago. I would have quit. I am still going. I am hoping that I'll try and go towards a coaching course. Maybe it's something different. I've got a passion for gymnastics, but at the moment I'm feeling something different might be helpful. So I'm going to see if I can do coaching.
Yeah, I think as you're 15 now, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think you can take a level 0 coaching course at the age of 14. But personally, only do it if you really want to do it, or because working with kids, like I said, it is also very mentally demanding, and it does depend on the age range.
Yeah.
But it is really good to have on your CV as well. Trained at level 0, trained at level 1, level 2, blah blah, onwards and onwards. But you don't necessarily need to be trained at any higher level than level 0, because if you stay at one club for long enough, you will just go up in the ranks anyway.
Yeah.
But yes, I would advise if you do it, get
I think level 1 16 or something.
Level 1 is 16, and then it ages. It does matter because level 1's quite intense.
I think I'm sorry.
I was just going to go on about I'll say it quickly. My friend was in gym, and it wasn't her coaches it was just she got fed up because the hours she was national gymnast, and at her age she's like 14, 13, being a national like one of the high.
There are some of those at my clubs as well who have cry because it's just so.
She was going into gym every day, training every day till 7 or 8. Yeah, you see people go training that much, but it's also at that age you can't pay for the training, and especially if you haven't come from a very good background, it just gets expensive. leotards, for instance, blimmin', they're expensive. And then especially for a female as well, then you got the hair buns, you've got the matching shorts. For her, every competition she'd have to buy a new outfit, a new bubble, and
fun that.
And I mean, for DMT and trampolining, you have to buy trampolining shoes and all sorts, and they're expensive.
Yeah, I think that links to Athlete A in the way of one of the gymnasts actually had to get a job at the gym sweeping floors and stuff.
Yes.
And to keep paying for their coaching.
I mean, at the gym where I'm at, we hardly charge much. We just charge enough to keep the gym going and to be able to pay the coaches. That's all it is. We just want to be accessible for everybody.
And that's what it should be. That's the thing.
Yes, it does. It does determine how big the venue is, what equipment you have, and when you need to buy new equipment. But because our community is so strong, this is a key of a good gym. If your community is backing you the entire way, or your gymnast parents and everything, and they trust you and they properly believe in you, nothing's bad happens to the gym, and you're always there for the gymnasts, that's a sign of a good club. And especially when you want a piece of new equipment that will affect all the gymnasts. And we've done it before, and it asks for a little bit of money to donate so we can buy that piece of equipment. The parents have done it because they trust us. They can come into the gym whenever they want. They can sit on the side and watch. They can do whatever they like. And we make it available for also the parents to take coaching courses, level 0 coaching courses.
Yeah, I've seen that at my gym as well. Kind of allowing that. I'm going to quickly go on to now one bit from Athlete A that it wasn't to do with like physical abuse. It was more to do with the kind of mental side of it, and it's something that I really didn't like. And it was that one of the athletes, it was kind of near the end of the documentary, and they were competing in the Olympics, and they were competing on a severe leg injury.
Yeah, I remember that one.
They were the last person in the American team to compete, and if they got a certain score, the America would go back with a gold medal. And the pressure put on this person was insane.
Yeah, in gymnastics, every time you go out for your routine or your run or your vault, there is pressure, right? But imagine, just to put this out there, you usually have something aching, something hurting, because you're training that hard anyway. So when you do a competition, you're usually hurting. But imagine having an absolutely messed up leg. You've gone through, you've done all your line, and you're almost at the end. You go, oh, I'm almost at the last one, and your name gets pulled out of the hat last, and you've got a messed up leg. You're hurting. You can't do that well, and you have to get a certain amount of points to secure a medal or medaling. The pressure on that, even on a small competition, right? We're talking about the Olympics.
Yeah, this person, they were lucky enough to actually
perform it,
score, but they couldn't walk on that leg. They were hopping, and I think it was like really badly damaged for. Like,
barely hopping, I think it was both of her legs in the end. It was just.
Oh no, no, she was crawling. So she had 2 vaults, and on one of them she came back kind of like stumbling, kind of hopping. On the second one, she had to crawl off the mat on her like knees because she just couldn't walk, and it's just that pressure. You shouldn't get to that point.
Before you even get to that point, your coach should have gone, I'm sorry, but we're not going to let you do your runs.
Yeah, and that's the thing to do.
It's not the gymnasts who should be going like, yes, they should say, oh, I don't feel like I can do this, right? But it's not the gymnast's choice to pull. Gymnast can't pull herself out. It's one of these stupid gymnastics rules where the gymnast can't go up to the judges or the people saying, I'm going to pull out, I don't feel right. The coach has to be the one to do that.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. They need to.
And yes, the gymnast should be comfortable to go up to the coach and be like, I'm sorry, but can I really pull out? At that point, right, you go, okay, sure. In the smaller competitions with younger kids, they'll come up and go, oh, can I pull out? I don't really feel. They're younger, right? So it's usually just nerves. But still, you still need to be aware.
Yeah. I thought gymnastics, the rules and how it works, it's got better in the last 3 years. But
so you can Google, if you go on to National Gymnastics, you can see the list of what we've changed and what is coming up and what's changing. You get yellow cards as a coach that come out and it has all these things that you shouldn't do. They're given out to all the youth coaches. And if you're unsure if someone is a coach, ask them, have you got your National Gymnastics card?
Yeah.
And they should have it with them all the time.
And that obviously shows if they're a coach or not. So, we've covered quite a lot. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to
Could
talk about.
I just ask something kind of for both of you, you guys have done gymnastics. Obviously, on Athlete A, those athletes had two of the the hardest, most cruel coaches, and I just want to kind of a bit of insight for myself. Of course, Josh, earlier you talked about how there was a gymnast class that you hated going to and stuff because it was strict. It was so strict and stuff. I just want to kind of get both of your opinion on have you experienced, in your opinion, quite strict and hard coaches yourself?
Yes. So at the old gym that I was at, it was this. Well, they were they were strict anyway, but I felt like the coach I had was was very mean. You know, she would make me cry most every session, and I was only 9 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like they should be so much nicer. I was in the squad, so they wanted me to do well. It wasn't like I was in one of the lower groups, but I still think there should have been a different way of handling it. In the end, I moved myself down to one of the lower groups. I thought that'd be better. And they did a testing of who would stay in, and I was like, I don't want to stay in. They did all right, we're gonna keep 10 out of 15 of the gymnasts in the squad, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I just performed so badly, and I hadn't trained properly because I was kind of scared of going. So these other kids who managed to push through it, slightly older than me, they stayed in. I'm glad I got moved down to the recreational thing because it was so much easier, it was so much more fun. And I was 10, I didn't want to do something so hard. I wanted to do something that I enjoyed. And so suddenly moving down, I felt like I learned more in a way. We did more things to do with the pit, the trampoline, kind of the bars, jumping, kind of parkour-y stuff. And that was a lot more fun, and that was suitable for a 9-year-old. But then I've always been someone who dreamt big, and I felt like that wasn't hard enough for me, but I didn't want to go back into the squad level because I just didn't enjoy the coaching. So that was when I moved gyms. That was when I was like, I've just had enough. And the new gym, the new style of gymnastics, I felt was a lot better. I was away from this horrid style of coaching.
Yeah, for me as well. I've had some real interesting coaches.
So Tom, what are you saying?
Yeah. I was just saying, yeah, I've experienced quite mean coaches and at points where I don't want to do gymnastics. It's hard. I haven't been necessarily abused. I haven't been anything like that, but it's mentally hard because for me, because I've got dyslexia and a few bits of other things, I sort of thought a bit out of the box and I get overwhelmed easily. And
same here, to be fair.
Yeah, so I've had my fair few of not nice coaches and the way I've been treated. But on the other hand, yeah, there's amazing coaches out there. There are
of course.
Absolutely
there are some good coaches.
Amazing coaches. But this whole subject, I think, especially for me and Josh, that I'd say for my age, it was just when I started, it was like, gymnastics is a safe spot, and like everyone knows here that parkour and stuff is my way of escaping from life and all its issues. I feel, even as doing parkour majority now, I feel threatened. Like just threatened by, I don't know, I can't really explain it. It's just really, really disturbing. And I'm not really making much sense here at this point.
No.
It's just, it's really, it's really hard to, you just see gymnastics as a safe space or anything like that. And then as being a coach as well, it's really hard because it feels like something's being taken away from you and you're fighting to get it back to how it was or even better as it. Like, gymnastics is changing now. Gymnastics is changing for the better.
That is true.
I would like to point you guys that maybe are still watching or you're not, it's fine. To Niall Wilson. He did a documentary on his views on it on YouTube. And that's really good because obviously he's an Olympian. One of the best, I consider one of the best male gymnasts out there. He's gone through his fair few and he talks about it. Yeah, it's emotional, it makes me emotional and it's hard. And I know Josh has had his fair few as well, but as being my generation, I would want Josh to have a really safe space, and it's hard, and it's changing for the better, and we're getting there. It's just we've never been at that point. But yeah, and just to put in points of, it is like dance. Gymnastics is like dance. You like to bring in Milo in this conversation is, guaranteed he's had some real strict dance teachers. Like, don't get me wrong, in dance and gymnastics, you have to have a level of strictness when you teach, but it should never get to the point where you're mentally abusing or abusing physically anybody.
Yeah, that's just, and that's one of the main points that I just want to say. I want people to know from me is the gymnastics that I've experienced. I've been lucky, but that's been hard. I've had probably a fairly normal experience with gymnastics, and that has been really hard. But if you add abusive coaches in, that would make it so much harder. Gymnastics has been so tough just for me, and I've been in a safe space, but as soon as you add in abusiveness, then it becomes 10 times worse. I can't imagine what it would feel like to have a coach and to have a place that you don't feel safe in, as well as the toughness of gymnastics. And so I feel like I've been quite lucky, but I feel like other people out there who haven't been so lucky, honestly, I feel so. I can't say how it feels like. I feel bad, but I can't compare myself.
Put it
to
into
them
words.
because,
I see.
Yeah, because like I can't put into words what they must have experienced. So yeah, that is the point of.
Yeah.
I've been lucky and it's been hard, and I don't know, and I can't put into words what it would be like for people who weren't so lucky, because having abusiveness in your gymnastic training, as well as the toughness gymnastics brings, is just something I can't like comprehend it. It's just something I can't like think of.
I'm just so happy that gymnastics has managed to change, especially while you're still training for the better, and that you found a good gym. Like, it's so hard, and it's like even in parkour it's the same as gym as well. It was just
in films and stuff you see a kind of cliche, I guess, of, you know, you see a scene of like a gymnast and their coach being, well, basically, and you know, you kind of think, oh, that's so normal, that's just gymnastics, but it shouldn't be that. It just shouldn't be. And I think what's good about this Athlete A thing is how it has opened up a discourse for kind of, how do you put it, just a new look on how people should teach in general, not just with in gymnastics, but just with all sorts of sports and everything. And it's just kind of, and it's good to hear. I think it was really good for me to hear your guys' thing.
But what happened in Athlete A, the whole trial and stuff, that was what set off all these the new changes in gymnastics, because that was in around 2016, 2017 when there was that big trial and the whole gymnastics kind of got looked into, and at the same time or afterwards they started putting new rules into it. So because of that film, so much has happened because of that documentary. People have spoken up, the rules have been changing, and I just feel like it's just so stupid how late it was for the changes to come, like 2016. So I think we're going to end this podcast here. It's been a bit of a tough one for me and Tom. Milo has probably learnt some things.
I think, of course, I've seen the whole documentary, of course, but I just getting your guys' insight, who have been in gymnastics. I've done like a little bit, but I'm not a gymnast myself, so it's nice hearing kind of young gymnasts as yourselves talks about the kind of difficulty for you, and it was quite interesting hearing from you, Josh, where you said it was hard for you, but you were one of the lucky ones. So I think it's seeing Athlete A and stuff. I can't even imagine what they're going through. If you yourself thought it was hard, I can't imagine. I can't even. So
I mean, I just had a moment. I think you feel that. I don't know. I just step up for a minute. It's just me and Josh have been one of the lucky ones. And that makes me really blessed and grateful. But we both encountered hard. As a gymnast or any sport, you will encounter that. But we are saying go try gymnastics. Just be aware of what's
Be aware.
happening.
Yeah.
On that note, I think we're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
So if you like this podcast, then like it. Obviously, if you want to subscribe, that's fine. If you want to unsubscribe later, if we're not producing the content that you want anymore, that's also fine. We've been JMTS. I hope to taken something away from this podcast, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.